Well, hey guys, welcome to my Lecturer's Chalk caricature color demo. Before I get into the actual demo, I'm going to give you a real quick history of the chalks and tell you how I got started with them, as well as give a couple pros and cons. So if you want to skip all this, I'll post something in the video so you can go straight to the demo if you want to skip this. So how I got started with these is I was in Myrtle Beach. I had already left Commons Art Shops. Had already been trained with the initially by Commons with the Prismacolor art sticks. And when I started my own business at the beach, I ran into a gentleman named Ben Burgraff who invited me to come work a Christmas with him in the mall in North Myrtle. And he introduced me to this chalk and glove technique that they do, which I thought was really neat because they not only speed up the process of coloring quite a bit, but they are really smooth and you can really get some nice vivid color out of them. So long story short, I worked with him. Real quick history about the Lecturer's Chalks. I know they've been around for a really long time. To the best of my memory of what I was told is they initially started out, people would use them for evangelical purposes. Actually, Dean Tooling Evangelical Association was the company I used to purchase them from. So they would make these chalks and they sell this gospel packet, and people would go around to different churches and do these drawings to music or to a Bible story and use the chalks to draw these pictures. And they even had some that were invisible until you put them under a black light, and that would be a dramatic element to the picture. But at some point, caricature artists got a hold of them and figured out that you could use a glove. I think actually it may have been Ben and his group that did. If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. So they figured out that you could use them for caricatures, and that's how it was born. Pros and cons. Pros, they're fast. They're relatively cheap once you get past the initial investment. They last a pretty good long time. And the things you'll need to go with them to make the caricatures happen, some cheap fixatives such as hairspray. I used Aquanet, and a cheap cotton pair of garden gloves. Obviously, you'll only need one. If you're left or right-handed, you'll use whichever hand you draw with. So they're relatively cheap. They're easy to carry around, and they look good. What are a couple of the cons? Well, they're kind of messy. There's chalk, so they produce chalk dust. You're spraying a accelerant hairspray, so if you're trying to be environmentally friendly, you're not really helping the environment any there. If you believe in the global warming and the ozone, then this may not be for you, or you may try to figure out a way to do it without using that type of fixative. I've yet to find something that works better, so if you do want to go that route, good luck, and please let me know if you do find something that works better than hairspray. Thirdly, you have to really be careful with moisture. If you're working outdoors, if it's raining or if there's a lot of moisture in the air, you have to be real careful because the moisture will soak up into your paper, and it makes it really hard to color with these things because the color will glob up in places. You'll know when I can't really explain it. You'll have to see. You'll know what I'm talking about if you ever experience it. So yeah, they're not for everybody, and they're not going to be ideal in all situations. But for the most part, they do really well. I used them for about 10 years in Myrtle Beach, so and they really helped me get the caricatures done quickly when I had a crowd. So one other thing I'd like to say: what makes the Lecturer's Chalk special as opposed to regular chalk? I mean, why can't you just go buy Sidewalk Chalk? Well, these things are a lot softer. And a side note, when you're working with them, certain colors, I think especially the green, is something about the way they mix them. Sometimes these colors will get these little hard almost like rocks in them. I guess it's where it wasn't mixed up well. So you got to be real careful, because if you run across one of those, it'll tear the glove up and it'll tear a hole in it, and your glove's ruined. But there again, you know, the gloves are cheap, so they're really easy to replace. But it can be annoying when you get to a certain color and there's a little hard spot in there. So just be careful when you're rubbing the color onto the glove, just to watch out for little hard spots in the chalks. Well, hey, I think that about covers it for an introduction and history. So I'm going to get right into the demo now. We're going to start off with this young lady's caricature right here. And I'll just go ahead and show you the glove. As you can see, I have a different finger for different color groups. Not a specific color, but color groups. Like all my light flashes and stuff will stay basically on this finger. My browns and blacks will be on this finger, and then of course all my blues and purples and even green will be on this finger. So really you only really need 3 fingers. You can use more if you want to, if you want to try to get the thumb involved in the pinky, but I found it using this 3 you have the best control. Now also I need to go ahead and say that with the chalks, it's not real easy to control these. I mean, you're basically smearing colors, basically like putting makeup on. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with a nice base tone, and I usually like to just go ahead and cover the whole face with what I consider the base color. And then after I get that done, I would go in with a little bit of my fixative, but unfortunately I don't have any, so we're going to just pretend that I do. So the results are a little better if you have a little bit of fixative to spray on between coats, but it's not absolutely necessary. And the reason I don't have any is because it's been years since I've done this. So anyway, you got your base coat, and the same thing with the hair. I try to pick out what I consider to be a medium to lightest color, and I'll go ahead and put that color in first. And for her hair, it's going to be brown. And incidentally, when I'm doing dark hair, I try to use as much marker as I can to capture the darkness, because again, this is not going to give you that real fine detail. This is basically like a broad stroke. This is basically your block in colors. To get fine detail, you're going to need something. I used to use Crayola markers, but in retrospect, that probably wasn't a good idea because they're not light fast. You need a decent marker, or you could even use the color sticks, the Prismacolor art sticks, which is basically what this is kind of replacing. Now at this point, after I do this part, I'm going to put her lips in there. After I did this part, this would be the part where I would give it a spray, but I don't have it, so we're going to go ahead and go to our next phase. The next phase is going to be your midtones. Now, incidentally, between colors, if you need to clean your glove out, you can flick your finger, kind of clean it out a little bit, which goes back to this being a messy. This is kind of a messy thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get some brown, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to start pulling in some midtones. And what I usually like to do is I'll just kind of go in and hit the darkest parts, or what I feel like are going to be the darkest parts. And then I clean the glove out. I gave it a couple flicks off to the side there. And then I'm going to go in, I'm just going to blend all this and kind of contour, just like putting on makeup. Not that I wear makeup, but you know what I mean. And I think I may have already mentioned it, but one of the neat things about these, about using these chalks is the visual. It's something that people want to stop and watch. And that was, even when I was dead and didn't have any business, I would sit there and I would just work on something because it gives somebody something to, people love to see what you're doing. All right, And you probably could call it finished at this point, but looking at her photo over there, looks like she has a little bit of yellow in there too. So I'm going to just go in, just real lightly hit that. And I have, always keep a kneadable eraser. If you need to go in and pull out a highlight, if you colored in something too much, you can always take that kneadable eraser before you spray your fixative. You can go in and pull out a highlight with that, or if you go out of the line a little bit and need to. So there. So now I'm going to go in. I need to darken her lips up a little bit. For her lips, I'm going to use the brown. I'm going to use the brown and probably a little bit of pink. Get that top lip, and then the bottom lip's not going to be as much. I'm going to clean the color out and just barely touch it. The more you use these things, the better you'll get with them. They're not entirely real hard to learn, but they do take a little bit of practice. And I'm going to go back over her hair with the black. And go ahead and color those earrings in because they're dark anyway. So, and one of the things I really love about these chalks is you can get as detailed as you want, or if you're really busy, you can go super fast with these, and people will still love whatever you do. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of a background in around her, just to kind of pop her off the page just a little bit. There again, you can get as intricate with these or as light and quick as you need to. All right, now that that's done, I'm going to go back in and just hit a couple little bit of dark areas there. And right around her eyes, I need to put just a little bit of dark blue. There again, you subtle. Anyway, that's the gist of it. And then I'm going to go in finally with the color sticks, because I don't have any markers on hand, so I'm just going to use the color sticks. And I'm going to pick out like her eyebrows. I need to color her eyebrows in. So and you can do that before if you want. You don't have to wait till after. It's probably better if you do it before you have all this chalk on it. And I might go in and hit a couple little details here and there. See, I'm getting it all on my hand because I don't have any fixative. But and you can, like I say, you can go over it with the colored pencils to pull out some more fine details. And then I think she's got on. So I'll just run over that real quick. My good friend Joel Queskin, who is always ready to be volunteer for stuff. I emailed him and told him I was going to do his caricature, and he said he was flattered. So whenever I try to get permission whenever I can to use people's likeness on videos and stuff like this. And if anybody ever has a problem, I'll gladly take a video down if it's got somebody in it that doesn't want to be in it. There again, I always try to get permission. But I'm actually going to do this one the right way. I'm going to start off with the color sticks and go ahead and hit all the color stick work first. Because once you get the chalks on there, If you've got fixative, it's not a big deal, but when I don't have any, so it's just a mess. More mess than it needs to be. And one of the main reasons I started with this chalk and glove technique is working every day out in the amusement park. The color sticks are nice, have nothing against them, but I really feel like with the chalk you get stronger and more vivid colors without having to wear yourself out, because you have to put quite a bit of pressure on these things to really get darkness. See, and really build them up. I just think it's faster, and I think it does just as nice a job. That's one. I guess you could say that's one of the pros of the chalk and glove over just doing it the normal way. So basically, I'm just going in hitting what I would consider fine detail first, kind of working backwards. So generally, you block in and then you work on your details last in art in general. So I'm just kind of go ahead and pull out all his age lines there. And incidentally, like even these lines on the forehead, if I wanted those to be a little more subtle, if I didn't want them to be as strong, I could have just done that with color and left a line out altogether. But you know, that's a matter of preference. That's a taste thing. So basically what I'm doing now is, as you can see, I'm just shading everything. The more you do with the color sticks, the less you do with the chalk. And there again, like I say, the main point of the chalk is it's just a quicker way to fill in large areas and not have to kill yourself in your fingers. These young guys, you young guys, it probably doesn't matter as much, but when you start getting a little age, carpal tunnel and things like that come into play. Don't have arthritis yet. I'm not that old, but it'll be there, I'm sure, if I do this long enough. Okay, so just did some real quick shading there. And then I'm going to come in with, just like before, I'm going to come in with what I consider my mid to light tone, and I'm just going to color it in. And as you get used to the glove, you'll get better at staying in the lines and just not being all over the place. You know, you can leave and even with this stage here, if you want to, you can leave little highlights if you want to. That's a preference thing. So give him a good color in there. Alright, and Joe has quite a bit of pink on his cheeks and his nose, so bam, 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 bam. Yeah, and it helps if you talk to yourself too. Just kidding. Alright, so yeah, definitely. You gotta talk to yourself while you're doing it. Alright, so there's that. We'll head over his lips again. A little too much. And I'm going to take just a little bit of blue, and I'm going to give Joe some 5 o'clock shadow, because he has it. And then I'm going to blend that in with the real subtle. Done. And I'm probably going to come back with a little bit of that brown. I'm probably going to hit over his hair. Joe's got a lot more salt than pepper, but still doesn't hurt to give him a little bit more dark in there. Not a whole lot though. I'm going to try to keep that subtle. might be a little bit too much, but that's the cool thing about these. These are fairly forgiving as far as if you screw up, you can go back and change something. All right. So I got his cheek a little bit too dark there, so I'm going to go in with my little eraser and I'm going to pull out some highlights. And on the nose. And on the lip. I think I need to put a little bit more brown up there on his forehead for the. That's wrong. Nope. See, I messed that. See, I messed up, so I'm gonna take that off. I did that on purpose. You know, no, I didn't. But actually, a little bit. That's better. All right. There again, like I said, you could sit here and play with this thing for hours, and well, not hours, but you get the gist of it. You could go in and work on detail for a while, or you could just make it quick and be done with it. When you got a lot of people behind you waiting for a sketch, you know, speed is of the essence. So, you know, at this point, I would, if I had any, I would spray a little bit of a fixative on it and call it done. Well, hey guys, as always, thanks for watching this video. I hope it's relevant. I hope you learned something from it. I'm very happy that my channel has started to get a little traction. I'm finally broke through the 100 subscriber mark, so I know that's slow growth, but I'm just excited to watch the channel grow, and hope more of you will subscribe and share these videos. As always, reach out to me with any questions, with any suggestions. I do read all your comments, and I take them to heart, and as always, I try to put things on this channel that's relevant, that hasn't been done. So that's my main goal, and as always, to promote the art of caricature and to hopefully help somebody out. So you guys be safe, and I'll see you next time.